Some of you right now, you're thinking about going back to what's familiar, back to the old habits, back to the people who drained you, back to the identity God already called you out of. But I came here to tell you today, don't go back. Growth requires movement. True growth means leaving the old behind and embracing the unfamiliar. Some of you are stuck right now, not because you lack potential, not because you lack opportunity, but because you're too comfortable. You're too comfortable where you are, and comfort can be a killer of growth. You don't grow by staying still. You don't grow by repeating what you've always done. Growth demands movement. It demands that you leave the place you've outgrown. Just like a seed doesn't grow unless it's buried and stretched. Your next season is going to require some stretching. And yes, it will be uncomfortable, but don't confuse discomfort with danger. Sometimes discomfort is the sign you're finally getting unstuck. Let me talk to the student who keeps waiting for the perfect moment to start. Let me talk to the dreamer who's scared of failing, so they keep planning but never moving. Listen to me. Growth does not come to the one who knows the most. It comes to the one who moves, the one who acts, the one who trusts even when they don't have all the details. The children of Israel, when they left Egypt, weren't ready. They didn't have maps, they didn't have logistics, they just had a word from God, go. And maybe that's what you need today. Not more confirmation, not more comfort, just a willingness to go. Stop rehearsing what you're missing from the past and start receiving what God's trying to do right now. You can't hold the future if your hands are still gripping the past. You can't become what you're called to be if you're still bowing down to who you used to be. Some of us have settled into cycles that feel safe, same people, same habits, same routines, but they're killing your capacity. What once worked might now be what's holding you back. That study method, that friendship, that way of thinking, it was useful in the last season, but it's become a limitation in this one. You say you want to grow, but when God starts shaking the ground under your feet, you call it an attack. No, it might be the answer, because growth will always require you to step outside the familiar, to stretch, to reach, to trust that the pain of moving forward is better than the regret of staying still. Your past has a pattern, but your future has a promise. Don't let past comfort zones pull you away from future purpose. Your past has a pattern, but your future has a promise. And if you don't recognize the difference, you'll keep going in circles and calling it progress. Some of you are mistaking movement for momentum. You're busy, but you're not going anywhere because you keep repeating the same cycle in a different season. And I need to tell you something hard but freeing. Not everything familiar is faithful. Just because you've been there before doesn't mean you belong there again. Some of you are trying to find your future by tracing your past, but you don't find your promise by repeating your pattern. See, patterns are predictable. They feel safe. You know how the story goes. You already know how that relationship ends. You know where that old mindset leads. You know what happens when you compromise your values for acceptance. It's all a pattern, but God didn't call you to live stuck in a cycle. He called you to walk in promise. And promises aren't comfortable because they require faith, not familiarity. Promises are built on something you haven't seen yet, something you haven't experienced yet. That's what makes it scary and sacred. Remember the Israelites in the wilderness. Every time they faced pressure, they said, "Let's go back to Egypt." Egypt had a pattern. It was oppression, yes, but at least they knew what to expect. The wilderness had promise, but it also had uncertainty. And some of you are walking through your own wilderness right now. It feels dry, it feels confusing, it feels like God is silent. But listen, just because it's not familiar doesn't mean it's not divine. God is training you to break out of the pattern so you can receive the promise. The enemy wants to keep you addicted to the known. He wants you to believe that the best you'll ever be is who you already were. But the devil is a liar. Your identity is not in your history, it's in his promise. God says you are a new creation. That means the patterns have to break. The labels have to fall off. The cycles have to stop. You don't need to understand everything, you just need to believe that there's something greater ahead than what's behind. If God let you leave it, it's because he has something better in front of you. Let go of the pattern and grab hold of the promise. Faith moves forward, fear retreats. Going back is often rooted in fear, but faith keeps us moving even when we're unsure. Faith moves forward, fear retreats, and in every moment of decision, you are choosing one or the other. You don't always say it out loud, but your actions are preaching. They're saying, I believe God, or I trust my fear. You can't walk in both directions at the same time. And fear is sneaky. It doesn't always show up as panic. Sometimes it shows up as overthinking. Sometimes it shows up as excuses. I'm just waiting for the right time. I need more clarity. No, that's fear dressed up as wisdom, and if you don't call it out, it will keep robbing you of your future. You can't walk in purpose while living in fear of failure. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about knowing who your source is. It's not about the outcome. It's about the obedience. You want certainty, but God gives you a word. You want a guarantee, but God gives you a step. And faith says, I'll move even if I don't know where it ends. Because moving in faith is not reckless. It's obedience to the one who sees the end from the beginning. Think about Peter. Jesus says, come, and Peter steps out of the boat onto water. That's crazy faith. But what happens next? He starts sinking. Why? Because he shifted his focus from the promise to the problem, from the word to the waves. That's what fear does. It distracts you until you forget who called you. But here's the grace in it. Even when Peter began to sink, Jesus immediately reached out and caught him. Because faith doesn't mean you won't get scared. It means you won't let fear make the decision for you. Some of you are standing right at the edge of something God told you to do. Start the business. Apply to the program. Leave the relationship. Speak up. Step out. But fear has you paralyzed. You're asking for another sign when God already gave you the green light. You've got the confirmation. What you need now is courage. The kind of courage that says, even if I feel afraid, I will not go back. I will not stay stuck. I will move forward in faith. Because fear feeds on hesitation, but faith grows in motion. The moment you move, heaven moves with you. What you left wasn't worth keeping if God called you out of something. It means it wasn't meant to stay with you. What you left wasn't worth keeping. Let me say it again louder for your spirit. What you walked away from, what God pulled you out of, what you had the courage to release was not worth keeping. And I know your memory is playing tricks on you. I know when life gets hard, your brain starts romanticizing the pain you used to live with. But let me remind you, you cried your way out of that situation. You prayed for freedom from that addiction. You begged God to remove you from that relationship, that cycle, that toxic mindset. And now the enemy wants to tempt you with a highlight reel of the very thing that almost destroyed you. Stop glorifying what God had to rescue you from. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's faithful. Just because it felt good in moments doesn't mean it was good for your purpose. You left it for a reason. And hear me, if God told you to leave it, it means He saw something you didn't. He saw the chain behind the smile. He saw the trap behind the pleasure. He saw the destruction behind the comfort. And when God calls you out, it's because He's calling you into something greater. Some of you are entertaining old doors that should have been sealed shut. You're still talking to people who already showed you their capacity. You're still revisiting patterns that already proved they can't carry your purpose. Why? Because you're confusing pain with peace. You're mislabeling temporary relief as long-term restoration. The enemy will always try to send you back into what's broken, because he knows you can't build destiny on a cracked foundation. You've got to start seeing your past for what it really was, not a place of comfort, but a place of captivity. You've outgrown it, you've matured beyond it. God has done too much in you to turn around now. And if you're not careful, you'll let your loneliness lead you back to what your obedience already left. But just because you feel a pull doesn't mean it's God. Sometimes the pull is a test. Will you return to what's familiar? Or will you trust the future you haven't seen yet? Let me remind you, what you left wasn't just a decision. It was deliverance. It was breakthrough. It was growth. Don't pick back up what grace already buried. Destiny is on the other side of discipline. Don't sabotage your future by romanticizing your past. Destiny is on the other side of discipline. You can pray for it, you can speak it, you can post about it, but if you're not practicing for it, don't expect to walk in it. God will not deliver in your life what you're not willing to develop through your choices. Some of us are asking God for next-level blessings, but still living with low-level habits. You want to step into a divine destiny, but you won't even wake up on time. You want influence, but you won't finish what you start. You want freedom, but you won't delete the number, block the site, close the door. Discipline is not just about effort, it's about alignment. It's saying, God, I will align my behavior with what I believe, because faith without works is dead. And so is calling without commitment. There's no shortcut to destiny. There's no fast track to purpose. Even Jesus didn't skip the process. He endured the wilderness. He faced the cross. He sweat. He bled. He obeyed, because divine purpose always comes with a price. If you think discipline is punishment, you're missing the point. Discipline is preparation. It's how God trains your character to carry what He's called you to walk in. Some of us want to be used by God, but we don't want to be shaped by God. We want success, but not structure. We want the crown, but not the cross. Let me teach you something real. If your habits don't match your hope is just hype. Discipline is where the difference is made, in the quiet, in the secret place, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when you're choosing purpose over popularity, when you're turning the page instead of scrolling the feed, when you're staying in when your flesh wants to go out. That's where destiny is built. You don't fall into greatness. You grow into it, step by step, choice by choice, day by day. Stop asking God for harvest when you won't sow the seed. Stop blaming the season when you're not honoring your schedule. Stop looking for breakthroughs you won't make room for. Your next level is not blocked by the devil. It's waiting on your discipline. The version of you that's walking in everything God promised is not magical. It's trained. It's focused, it's intentional, and it's willing to do what's hard now so you don't have to live with regret later. You can't be who you were and who you're becoming at the same time. Transformation means something has to die for something greater to live. You can't be who you were and who you're becoming at the same time. That's not just a spiritual truth, that's a law of transformation. When a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it doesn't keep crawling with wings. The moment it changes, it loses the ability to go back. And that's what some of you need to hear today. You are not that person anymore. You can't keep talking like them, thinking like them, surrounding yourself with the same crowd, and expect to walk in a different identity. Something's got to give. The old you has to die so the new you can live. You're in the middle of a metamorphosis, and it's time to choose. Some of you are grieving the loss of who you used to be, not because it was great, but because it was known. You knew how to operate in dysfunction. You knew how to survive in chaos. But now God's calling you to thrive in clarity, and that scares you. You're not scared of the future because it's bad. You're scared of the future because you don't recognize yourself in it yet. But let me remind you, just because you're unfamiliar with who you're becoming doesn't mean you're unworthy of becoming it. The growth feels awkward because it's new, not because it's wrong. You can't mix your old patterns with your new purpose. That fear-based thinking, that insecurity, that desperate need for validation, it can't come with you. That need to always play it safe, that fear of being misunderstood, that voice in your head that keeps repeating every failure and flaw, it doesn't belong in this next chapter. You've got to evict it, because you can't build a new future with old tools. The old you got you here, but the new you is the one that's going to walk into the promise. When Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, he didn't just say, "Come out." He said, "Take off the grave clothes." Why? Because even though Lazarus was alive, he was still wrapped in what he used to be. And some of you, yes, you're alive, yes, you've been raised, but you're still walking around in the identity of a corpse. Let it go, peel off the labels, break up with the lie. There is no version of the future God has for you where you keep pretending to be someone you've outgrown. The old you is over. And that's not a loss. It's the proof that something greater is being born.